My name is Puneet Tandon. This is Young Urban Project, and today I'm going to answer one of the most asked questions when it comes to running ads by freelancers or agencies or even business owners. Whenever people want to run Facebook ads or Google ads, they have this one big burning question in the mind. What is the budget that I should start off with? When I'm running the ad for the first time, what budget should I put? So there are a lot of vague answers. When you're a freelancer or an agency, you will tell the client that you should start with whatever you can spend. The business owners might not know what's the right budget to start, and there is a lot of confusion around this question. So I thought, let me answer this question and give you a great framework and a formula on how to decide what is your starting budget when you start a Facebook ads campaign or a Google ads campaign or any other ads campaign. So let's get right into it. Now pay attention to this Excel sheet that you can see on the screen, and this is where we'll do all the calculations. The first thing I want you to write down is the average ticket size of your customers. Now what an average ticket size means is what is the average value of a customer to your business. Now if you have a service, let's say you provide a service, it could be a social media marketing service or an SEO service or a web designing service, what's the average amount you charge a customer? In this hypothetical example, we are going to take this as 10,000 rupees. Make sure that you understand when you're running a campaign for multiple services. So each service would cost something different, and you're running a single campaign for all the services. Let's say you're an agency and you're running one campaign for multiple services. So what you have to do is you have to write the average ticket size. So take the different costs of services, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 25,000, and make an average and put the average number here. So I'm just going to write service in INR. I'm going to use Indian rupees as a currency here. So once you've written that, the next number that you want to know is the acceptable cost per acquisition. If you know a little bit about advertising, you would know what cost per acquisition means. It means how much money can you spend to acquire a single customer. Now, that's what's called acceptable cost per acquisition. For a service that costs 10,000 rupees, the average cost per acquisition would be somewhere in the range of 20% to 30%. It might even go higher to 40%. When you start optimizing over time and you start becoming a big, well-known brand, your average cost per acquisition would decrease. In this particular example, I'm going to take the average cost per acquisition, acceptable cost per acquisition as 20% of the average ticket size. So to acquire a customer that would pay me 10,000 rupees, I'm okay to spend 2,000 rupees. This could even go higher. You could make it 30%. You could, some businesses might be okay spending 40%. Now you have to find that out. You have to determine this based on what your expenses are and what is the kind of profits you want. So if your business, out of 10,000 rupees, you know that 5,000 is going to go as an expense, and let's say you want to make a profit of 3,000 rupees. Now that 8,000 out of this 10,000 is already gone. So now you can only spend 2,000 at the maximum to acquire a customer. This would vary. Let's say if you are a digital product business, so you don't have shipping costs, you don't have inventory costs. So the expenses might even reduce further. So let's say your actual expenses, your office expenses, your employee expenses are only 2,000 rupees. I'm talking on a unit economic basis. So let's say it's only 2,000 rupees, and you have 3,000 rupees. You might want a 4,000 rupee profitability here. So now the total expense is 6,000 rupees, or expense plus profit. So here you have a little more leeway to acquire a customer. So you have 4,000 rupees as you can have 4,000 rupees as the cost per acquisition. Now a lot of businesses, when you speak, they will say that, when you ask them what's the acceptable cost per acquisition, how much can you spend to acquire a customer, they would say as low as possible. Somebody might say, I'll spend only 500 rupees to acquire a customer that's worth 10,000 rupees. To them I have a question. If I had a money making machine, if I had this magic box in which you put in 5,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees and you could get back 10,000 rupees, would you want to put your money in that magic box? The answer is yes, right? So even if it's 3,000, 4,000, you would still be willing to put in your money into that magic box and take 10,000 rupees out. And that's how the ads here work. It's like that magic box where you have to invest. And if you don't invest, you're not going to get money out of that. So in my example, I'm going to take the average cost, acceptable cost per acquisition as 2,000 rupees. Now, don't let this fool you. This doesn't mean that I am going to spend 2,000 rupees for each acquisition. I might want to reduce this. I might later on want to acquire a customer only at 1,000, at 500 rupees. Now, that's something that optimization over time would help. But when we say acceptable, it makes a block in your mind that, okay, I am okay till the cost goes up to 2,000 because I'm profitable. My expenses are being handled through through the acquisitions. So everything is in place. Profitability maximization will happen later. Also take another look at another metric, which is the average conversion rate, which means the ratio of leads to sales. Now, what conversion means is, when you get leads. So in service businesses, mostly you will have to generate leads and then, give them a call, do your email nurturing sequences, all those things to convert them from a lead to sale. Very rarely in the service business, somebody will directly see your ad and purchase your service. It doesn't generally work like that. So you have to first generate leads. So what is the average leads to sales conversion ratio in your business or the business you're handling? Now, if you know this metric, good enough. If you don't this, make an assumption. In this particular example, I'm going to take 20%, or let me take 15% as the average conversion rate. I'm playing very safe here. Now, what I'm saying here is if I'm getting 100 leads through my campaign, whatever I'm spending, I'm getting 100 leads. Only 15 out of those leads are actually converting into my customers. So my lead to conversion ratio is 15%. Let me also take another example for a product business, which is, let's say it's a lower ticket size item and there are no leads involved. So I'm going to simultaneously compare both the things. So I'm going to take a product business or an e-commerce business. Let's say the average ticket size for this kind of a business is 1,000 rupees. You're selling, merchandise which costs on an average 1,000 rupees. And the acceptable cost per acquisition after you've removed your hosting expenses, domain expenses, employee expenses, shipping, your inventory, your expenses, your manufacturing expenses. Let's say after excluding all of that and excluding the profitability that you want at this current stage, let's say you want your acceptable cost per acquisition is 300 rupees. That means to acquire a customer worth 1,000 rupees, you're okay spending 300 rupees. So in this case, I'm just writing it here so that we can compare this side by side. Let me just highlight this. Okay, I hope everything is clear till now. So in the product e-com example, we don't have a conversion rate because we're not generating leads here. We're directly going to try and make a sale. Now, in this case, in the service business case, we want to look at another thing, which is the acceptable cost per lead. Cost per lead. All right, so acceptable cost per lead is CPL. Similarly, acceptable cost per acquisition is CPA. So we are generating leads which are then converting into customers. Now, if our acceptable cost per acquisition is 2,000 rupees, obviously the leads that we are generating are at a lower cost. And how much lower? That's 15% of the cost, because we know that our leads to sales conversion rate is 15%. So what we'll do here is we'll take 15% and multiply this with 2,000. And that's how you get, so what we have done is we have not pulled this number out of thin air. We have just taken this acceptable cost per acquisition and used our average conversion rate that we know historically, or we have taken an assumption and we have arrived on an acceptable cost per lead. That means I'm okay spending 300 rupees for every lead that I'm getting. Again, this is the acceptable cost per lead. This doesn't mean that you will want to completely spend that 300. Maybe you'll want to generate a lead later on at 50 rupees. So that's completely okay, and we'll optimize that. But putting an acceptable number here, which is 300, will make sure that you know that I don't want to overshoot this, because that's where my profitability is going to get hampered. When we go to the product ecom example, again, this is not applicable because we are not generating leads there. And the next thing I want you as a business or someone who's managing a business, an agency that's managing a business, I want you to tell me what's the number of sales, the bare minimum number of sales that you need to generate in a month for your business, for this campaign to be viable, to be practical. Because let's say you've done all this calculation, you're running a Facebook campaign, but you're only generating, for example, for a business, you're only generating 10,000 rupees. For a business that otherwise probably must be generating 50 lakhs, 60 lakhs on a monthly basis. For them, if through a campaign you are only creating a profit of 10,000 rupees, that means the denominator, the base is too small. And is it worth running a Facebook campaign for such small amount? It's not, right? Because it's minuscule in front of what other revenue channels are giving you. So this is the estimate that you have to make, which will tell you how many customers or how many sales do you need to generate through a campaign, for this campaign, and for Facebook or Google ads, whichever you're doing, for them to become viable for you as a business, because you are going to be spending your time in making the ads, making the creatives, optimizing them, doing A/B testing, a lot of other experiments. So you need to define the number of sales required monthly to make the campaign viable. Let's say for this business, the service business, where an average ticket size is 10,000 rupees. Let's say we have a bare minimum requirement of bringing in 20 customers. And this will vary on business to business. For, let's say, if you have a service that costs 1 lakh rupees a month. So let's say you have a service that where a customer has to pay 1 lakh a month, and let's say you have a larger business. Maybe this 1 lakh is per month, and you do a contract of 12 months. So this would be a way larger client, right? So maybe in this particular business, you only want to generate 1 client a month. That means you are actually looking at a contract which would be 1 lakh into 12, which is 12 lakh rupees. So every month you just need to convert 1 customer, which would be worth at least 12 lakhs for you. And I'm saying that even if the contract doesn't gets renewed next year, you'll still get 1 lakh. So this depends on a business to business. For this example, I have taken 20 customers as the bare minimum to make our Facebook ads or Google ads efforts viable. So 20. And what we'll do here is, now we'll calculate the final minimum budget that we need to spend on this campaign on a monthly level. So let me write it here: minimum budget to be spent monthly. Okay. So how do we calculate that? We already know what's the number of clients or sales that we require to generate in a month. And we already know what's the acceptable acquisition cost we are okay with for each customer, for each acquisition. So all we need to do is, we need to take the number of sales required monthly and multiply it with the acceptable cost per acquisition. And this is the amount of money that we need to spend on a monthly level based on this calculation if we want a profitable business and if we are new, we've never done ads before. Now, again, this is the minimum budget that can be recommended to be spent based on the business objectives. If your business objectives change, let's say instead of 20 sales, you want to now generate at least 30 sales because you're trying to maximize the revenue, the top line. So I'm going to make it 30. And you see that your minimum budget will now become 60,000 rupees. You make it 40, it will become 80,000 rupees. So the more your business grows, the more you scale, the budget will keep changing accordingly. So a lot of things can change over time in your campaign. Your average conversion rate might go up or down. Your cost per lead might go up or down. So all of those things might happen and you have to be prepared. But this calculation would at least give you that kind of an idea on what you need to spend. So I also want to do another calculation for the product e-com business. So this is a little more simpler. Let's say in this case, for our e-com business, we want to generate 100 sales a month. So this is pretty straightforward because we know the number of customers we want and we know the acceptable cost per acquisition that we are okay with. So that's that. And when you multiply both of those things, you will get 30,000 rupees. So for this kind of a business, to generate this kind of business, you will need to spend 30,000. Now, when you spend 30,000, what's the revenue you are going to get? That's simple because your average ticket size is 1,000 rupees and you are acquiring 100 customers, right? So you're basically getting 1 lakh rupees in revenue on a monthly basis by spending 30,000 rupees. Now, in terms of ROAS, this is really good. This sounds like a good business to me. What do you think about this? So I hope this was helpful. This is something that we also cover in our advanced cohort-based practical digital marketing course. So we keep adding new cohorts every now and then. If you want to learn digital marketing, a full stack digital marketing, where you're learning SEO, your paid ads, your social media strategy, email marketing, website development, all of those things in 10 weeks, 11 weeks. So that's the kind of range we have for our digital marketing course. If you're interested, I'm going to leave the link in the description. If you want to become practical, hands-on digital marketer, this is one of the best courses out there. And we have got some really good case studies and success stories out of that. And everything that we do is practical. There are practical assignments and you work with real brands and agencies on real projects, not hypothetical scenarios. So I hope you liked this video. Check out the links in the description. And if you have any questions, drop a comment. If you want to learn something else or you're stuck somewhere, feel free to ask me in the comments. My name is Puneet Tandon. This is Young Urban Project. I'll see you next week in another valuable video. Bye-bye.